everybody, 6-Speed Dakota here, and today's project we're going to be replacing the front brake pads and rotors on this 99 GMC half-ton two-wheel drive. This is a fairly simple process, but unfortunately you need a couple of special tools, or not a couple, but a special tool per se. Leave it to GM. Anyway, stuff you're going to, let's get right down to it. Stuff you're going to need a new set of brake pads, which I got these nice quality Raybestos pads. You are going to need, you probably want some penetrating lube. You're going to need an 18mm socket. And I got my breaker bar because those things are kind of stuck in there. Trusty C-clamp or a big pair of channel locks, something to push the piston back in. A pair of side cutters or long nose pliers, you'll see why in a second. Trusty screwdriver. Of course, the hammer of Asgard. And the special tool is this T55 Torx bit. That's how you get the caliper sliders out. I'm going to leave it to GM. You're also going to need a 7/8 socket and some kind of way to remove the wheel. So, let's get started. Okay, so step one, we have to remove the wheel. So first thing we're going to do is using our impact gun, we're going to zip these guys off. This guy just pops right off, like that. You need to turn the wheel all the way over. That'll be step 2. I should start counting. Now we're going to take our big prying screwdriver. We're going to pull back on the caliper. And you can kind of try and get it between the pad and the rotor. Anyway, you kind of get my point here. So what we're doing is we're pushing the piston back in the... There's two of them actually. This is a 2-piston caliper. So we can free the rotor a little bit. Then we're going to take our T55 Torx bit. With a Torx bit you have to make sure it's fully seated before you really start pounding on it. Oh wow, that's really in there. Might have to try plan B here. Ow. Okay, so once we got these things cracked loose, this thing is unbelievably tight for some reason. Remember to crack them loose before you pull either of them all the way out. There we go. Try not to drip any grease on the nice driveway. Now what we can do, this caliper can be a little cranky sometimes. Just really gotta squeeze it in. There we go. That should pop right out and lay right on top. These pads aren't bad. The other side was pretty buggered up. This side's actually still got plenty of life left on it. Problem is the inboard pad, I guess, was jammed at one point on the other side, and this has got a pretty good groove in it right now. So, actually this one's going a hell of a lot easier than the other side. Alright, so now taking our 18mm socket, course, this one ain't gonna come easy either. I think this is the first time these brakes have ever been apart, because these look like the OE rotors on them. I have no idea what the mileage is on this truck. For some reason the odometer doesn't work. Alright, so now we gotta get the rotor off. Okay, so next step we gotta get the rotor off. Now, you could try to save these dumb things, but I never like to. They're just kind of a pain. All they really do is they hold the rotor in place during the automated assembly processes. So, there's no real... Oh wow, this thing's dripping power steering fluid on my driveway. Damn. Just try to get underneath it. Twist it. Just break the damn thing off. Just like that. Beats the hell out of fighting it. Try to get it off. Oh, there we go. All done. Ow, now this one's really easy. It just slides right off. Look at that. Alright. So, next thing we're going to do is we're going to push the pistons back into the caliper. There's no real nice way of doing this. You can either go directly into the piston and push each one back individually. You're going to have to alternate back and forth, because if you push one in, typically the other one will push back out. So what I like to do on these ones is take the brake pad, put it against that, kind of upside down, if you will. Alright. And that'll sit between the two pistons. And you can squeeze them both back in. Now I made sure that I drained out a bunch of or drew out a lot of the brake fluid, because this thing was filled to the brim before I even got to it. Annoying kids. There we go. Now next step, we're going to put the rotor back on. Put the new rotor on, or off, or open, flipped upside down. Now also make sure that these match. I've already done the other side, so I know that they match. Okay. So I'm just using a little bit of mineral spirits here to clean off the anti-rust coating, and that's really all you need, is just that. This stuff dissolves it pretty quickly. This thing's pretty beat up, actually. Probably got damaged in shipping. Oops. I'll do the other side. You don't need to get every single little bit of the rotor, but just the friction surfaces. Now what I like to do is I like to come with a dry paper towel and wipe all the mineral spirits back off. So if you're touching it with dirty hands, there's less of a chance that it's going to get the rotor all dirty if you if the surface is dry. Alright, so now what we have to do before we continue is we have to spray our disc brake quiet on the back of the brake pads. Right, so since the last one was a royal pain to get off, what I'm going to do, so I'm going to clean up this. This one was easy, but the other side was quite difficult. Just going to put, I got new anti-seize too, so this stuff's really liquidy. The 10-year-old stuff I'd finally run out of. Ah, crap. Okay. I'm going to obviously put a little bit of anti-seize on the studs. This truck has a 5-speed, so I'm pretty sure that's why these brakes have lasted for so long. I got 72,000 miles on, or 73,000 miles on my truck, and I still got the original brakes on. Oops, sorry about that. So I like to put one of the lug nuts in all the way, and that'll temporarily hold the rotor in place for when we go to get the caliper mounting bracket back in. Alright, so now we got to clean up the caliper mounting bracket. Now you notice there's 2 clips, one on either side. I like to do one at a time. It's fairly intuitive which one it is, but just in case. Take our wire brush. I'm going to clean off this surface. Just like that. We're going to take our new clip. Notice how it's got one wide side, one skinny side. The skinny side is towards the front, the wide side is towards the back. It should just pop right in, just like that. So then the other one, same thing, should just pop right out. And the new one, after we do a little bit of housekeeping. Pardon the Family Guy reference. Should also just slide right in. Let's try that again. Should also just slide right in. There we go. Alright. So now, I'm going to put my anti-seize. I'll put a little bit of anti-seize on this, so right at this point right here, that's probably way too much. And on the inside of this, and right here, same on the other side. Now the pad doesn't sit all the way back here, so there's no point in putting a bunch of anti-seize there. Alright, so now it's time to put the caliper mounting bracket back on. Alright, so again, not rocket science, but first thing we're going to do, there's a lot of anti-seize in here. I'm going to put a little bit of anti-seize on both the mounting bracket retaining bolts, just like this. And we're going to, slide the mounting bracket into place and feed the bolts in. Oops. Now remember that these things do a vast majority of the work, so make sure you tighten these guys up good. Put the brake pads back in, so we're going to put the one with the squealer tab, the single squealer tab, make sure it's on the correct side is the one that came off. The single squealer tab goes on the back. And the side with the squealer tab goes in first. Then the pad. Now we put the outboard pad back on. This one's a little bit trickier. You kind of have to get the bottom in. Slip it on there. Oops, I just popped right off. There we go. Alright, so now we're going to put the caliper back in, but before we do that, we're going to clean off the slider pins. If you notice any corrosion or pitting on the sliders, you're going to have to clean that off with a wire brush or something first. Oh. So again, so what we're going to do first, we're going to take the caliper and just gently place it on here. Oh. There we go. There we go. So now, I seem to have misplaced the slider pin. Take our slider pin, apply a fairly liberal coating of grease to it. Now this is special silicone-based grease. Don't just use, oh wow, big air bubble in there. Don't just use any kind of petroleum grease, because the rubber slide bushings in there, they don't like. Let's try that on the top one. There we go. For some reason, the rubber likes to swell with the petroleum grease. So we don't use petroleum grease, or else these brake sliders will just seize themselves in there. So now what I like to do is I like to take a little bit of anti-seize and just put it on the threads of the slider bolt. Screw that guy back down on there. And then we take our 3/8 ratchet. Tighten them down. Make sure they're tight. You don't have to kill these things in there too much. This is only a Torx bit. Caliper should slide nice and smoothly. Alright, now I'm going to wash my hands. Actually, first let's put the wheel back on. Oops. we get too far ahead of ourselves, we're going to get in here and pump the brake a few times. There we go. Now what we can do is we can come around, shut the buzzer up, and make sure that the brakes don't drag excessively. This one looks okay. Come around to the front here, or to the other side. This is the side I was most concerned about, and it seems to be just perfect too. So what we're going to do is we're going to get the truck on the ground and we're going to torque the wheels. Alright, let's go take this thing for a roll and see how we did. Alright. There's a bunch of wiring gremlins in this thing. Oh, there we go. Heater doesn't work. We got a check engine light. Brake warning light is on. Then that was on before we started, by the way. So don't give me shit that I did something. And the clutch is unbelievably heavy on this thing. I don't know if he's got a center force in it or something, but man, you gotta heave that thing. It's chattery as hell, dude. Nobody behind us. We're going to hit the brakes gently, make sure that they work. Feel all right. You really don't have to wind this motor up too much. It's not bad. This truck's a total stripper model. There's nothing really to it. No options, no thrills, no gimmicks kind of thing. I think I'm going to deviate from my usual test drive route. Man, this clutch grabs hard. Boss 302 Laguna Seca we just passed, actually. I'm kind of curious to know how this thing will do against my Dakota. My Dakota's quite a bit heavier because it's 4x4 and whatnot. This thing's got 190 horse, so it's got quite a bit of torque. It's kind of fun to actually boot around, to be honest. Steering's nice and light. Alright. Now I'll just do the conclusion from the GoPro here. Kind of hear that the clutch is a little clunky. I don't know, maybe it's time for a clutch. I'm not certain. Oh, alright. Time for the conclusion. Alright, I hope you enjoyed this video, everyone. Thank you for watching. This one wasn't too bad, actually. The passenger side was a little bit more of a pain than the driver's side, but not by much. Just excuse me, a little hungry right now. Just remember that you need a T55 Torx in order to get this job done. That's very, very important. Do not try to substitute anything. Anyhow, I'm 6Speed Dakota, and I need some lunch. So you can follow me on Facebook at facebook.com/6speeddakota, Twitter at 6speeddakota, Google Plus also 6speeddakota. And yeah, thanks for watching, everybody. I hope you enjoyed it. That might explain why the vehicle's a little bit louder than I usually is. I forgot to close the sliding door. Anyhow, take it easy, everybody. Thank you for watching. If you have any questions, if they're short questions, put them in the comments. If it's a lengthy question, send me a PM on YouTube or like my Facebook page and ask me there. All right, take it easy, everybody.